Happy Friday, everyone. You are here because you're either underqualified for roles or maybe you're told that you're overqualified for roles. That could be the case as well. But that's not the case. You're not underqualified and you're not overqualified. You are underpositioned. And nowhere is that more visible than your LinkedIn profile and your LinkedIn headline, even more specifically. I'm Christine Graves. I am a executive authority strategist, and I'm very happy to be here with you today. I have spent over 25 years in recruiting and human resources, and I've seen way too many executives that are underpositioned or just not, their positioning isn't right, and it's not opening the doors. I work specifically with leaders in marketing and sales, helping them to land their next role at the level that they've already earned. So today I'm going to show you exactly why the right opportunities aren't finding you and the 3 shifts that change that. So let's get right into it. As I'm sharing my screen, and it looks like that is going okay. I'm just going to double check my audio too to make sure, yeah, everything looks like it's working. So that always helps, right? Okay, so let's get started here. So the silent cost of backward positioning, and I've received questions on this. What is backward positioning? Well, let's talk about first what it costs you, okay? Because I think a lot of you are experiencing this. You're attracting lateral roles or just roles that aren't a fit for you. They're not what you want next, okay? But many of them are lateral roles. Recruiter outreach that arrives below your level. So again, you've got these recruiters reaching out to you and it's just not what you want for your next role. You're invisible to retained search. Retained search just doesn't seem to be seeing you at all. You're not perceived as succession ready. That could be another issue as well. You don't know which rooms you were never considered for. That's the problem. That is the real cost. It's not even rejection because you don't get to that point. It's exclusion. So polishing your resume, polishing your LinkedIn profile, even tweaking your headline, that is surface stuff. Positioning is what drives economics. So I need you to keep that in mind. The identity gap. This is huge. So this is what causes positioning issues because it's the gap between who you were hired to be and who you're ready to become, because who you were hired to be is in the past. You know, if you've been in your role for a year, a couple of years, whatever it is, that's in the past. You've got to be, you need your positioning to reflect who you are now and who you are becoming, who you're evolving, the leader that you're evolving into. So your headline sits at the intersection. If those are misaligned, traction slows. And most executives evolve internally long before their positioning reflects it. And that's the problem. It's like your positioning, what I find is your positioning hasn't caught up with you yet. It's not up with you in the present and who you are moving into the future as an executive leader. So that is huge. All right, and here is my clarity matrix. So there's 4 areas on this, as you'll see. There is the early stage of low experience, low signal. So this is where you start off with when you're new in your career. So that's where everyone gets started. So yeah. So you can find yourself there again when you're starting off your career. And I want you, and as I'm going through this entire clarity matrix, I want you to self-diagnose where you sit right now in the clarity matrix. So really pay attention. So I'm thinking practically no one is in this early stage quadrant because you're not new in your career. You haven't just started. Okay. So, but again, with the clarity matrix, I do want to stress the 2 things that it measures. It measures the depth of your experience on the vertical axis, and then the strength of your market signal on the horizontal axis. Okay, so those 4 quadrants This is what we're going to go over. So I talked about the bottom left one already. Okay, so again, that's early career. It's not where you are. Now let's go actually to the bottom right. So that's the low experience, high signal one. You're visible there, but not yet seasoned. And again, that's not where you are at this point. So top left is high experience, low signal. So I would say really from all the conversations that I do on a daily basis, that the majority of you are in this quadrant of, again, the credible quadrant. Okay. And then, and you've earned your seat. It's just the issue is the market it just doesn't know it yet. Okay. And what we want to do is we want to move you over from the credible quadrant to the inevitable quadrant. Okay. Top right, because it's high experience and high positioning signal. So this is where your inbound shifts. This is where confidential conversations begin and where your next role starts finding you instead of you having to seek it out, instead of the other way around, instead of you having to chase opportunities and constantly scrambling, finding out what's going on in the market. You don't have to do that when you're in this quadrant, because opportunities are seeking you. The goal of everything that we're doing today is to move you from the credible quadrant, which is that top upper left quadrant, to the upper right-hand quadrant of inevitable. Okay. So that's the focus. 3 things have to shift in order to make that move, right? So 3 things. And here, let's go to the next slide. So these are the 3 shifts. So shift 1 is your headline has to stop summarizing your title, and it needs to start signaling. I can really talk today. I didn't have my coffee, so please bear with me. I should have had it sooner. So it needs to start communicating your economic value provided. It needs to start signaling to the market. Okay. So, and I'm not talking about buzzwords, not inflation, economic value provided. Okay. There is value that you have provided in your current role for sure, and in your past roles. Anytime headcount is created, there needs to be a justification for that. Just ask the CFO. Or there should be. If there isn't, that's an even deeper issue. But again, we want to make sure that you're talking about your economic value provided, and it's again the signal. You have to be signaling where you are going, not where you have been, because that future CEO, that future chairman of the board is going to be hiring you because they see you helping them to tackle the future problems. They see you helping them to reach their EBITDA goal, but that's more future. That's not past of what you've done. So when your signal reflects where you're operating next, your categorization changes immediately, and the market will then file you in a different drawer. So yeah. The second shift is your language has to move from task description to mandate ownership, right? So think of it this way. Candidates describe responsibilities, right? Peers signal authority. So even think about the power dynamic when you are in a traditional interview. You definitely feel like a candidate, trying to get approval to get in a role. But when you're in leadership, and especially when you're being considered for executive roles, it really shouldn't be a candidate. You shouldn't be in the candidate role. You should be in the peer role. So peers signal authority. And think of it this way. You're not writing a job description. You're communicating what you have owned, growth and transformation and strategy. When your profile reflects that ownership, you're evaluated differently. It's a subtle shift with significant consequences. Okay. So you need to keep that in mind as well. Shift 3 is, and this one is specifically for those of you who are currently employed and want to find your next role without looking like you're looking. You need to build traction without exposure. And it doesn't require daily posting. It doesn't require public searching. It requires discrete alignment between your profile, your connection strategy, and your signal. Okay. So that is a hard requirement for sure. And that's what so many people are lacking. Because when those three are aligned, leverage builds quietly. Your next role finds you before urgency forces your hand. So yeah, so again, this one is aligning your profile, your connection strategy, and your signal quietly. All right, so this is what it looks like, because I think it's easier for you to understand in a real life example. So in a real example with a client. So one of my clients was stuck at the senior level, and at the senior director level specifically for years. She had very strong results, had real organizational impact, and the market was not reading any of it at the right level. We didn't polish her resume. What we did is we rebuilt her positioning signal from the diagnosis up. So within weeks, her LinkedIn profile views started increasing without posting more content, without that being a heavy focus. The people connecting with her were at a higher level than before, and she was promoted from within. So she didn't have to find a position outside the company. It's just because her positioning signal had changed. She wasn't discovered. She was finally being interpreted correctly. So that was the game changer. The difference was made. So yeah. So if you recognize yourself, so I'm going to go back to the quadrant. So if you recognize yourself in this quadrant, so if you feel, again, take another look at this. Do you think you are falling into this credible quadrant? My suspicion is yes, you are, because the majority of executive leaders are falling in here. They have great experience. Often they are told you are overqualified, or they're told, often they can be told that they're underqualified too. That is quite possible. Okay. You don't have exactly what we're looking for. You are not a match for this, right? We need to move you out of this to here, to the inevitable quadrant. Okay. Because again, it's adjusting your positioning signal, because the problem in this quadrant is you have a low positioning signal, and we do the work to make sure that we adjust it so you have a high positioning signal. Okay. So yeah, so if you know your experience, if you really, really feel down to your bones that your experience is not the issue, and you suspect that your positioning signal is costing you opportunities that you've never even seen. And that's what, you could be doing the best resume update, the best LinkedIn profile update, but if your positioning itself is faulty, then none of that is going to work. So yeah, and it's going to be costing you opportunities that you've never heard about, or you haven't seen, that have never crossed your desk. And I can help with that. I can absolutely help. So the next steps, what I propose is here. Let me go here. Oops, sorry, went too fast. All right, so the next step is I have a limited number. I can offer you a career strategy session. Typically, I do charge for these, but because you are watching this, I want to give you a gift. Okay, it's Friday. I want to give you a gift. I want to be generous. So anyway, but you do need to connect with me first. Okay, so send me a connection request, and I will give this to you. Okay. So yeah, and you can take advantage of that now. So if you have a second, just send me a connection request if we are not first degree connections already. And if we are first degree connections and we haven't even talked yet, then we need to fix that for sure. So let me tell you what these career strategy sessions are, okay? Because this is what I really think will be able to help you, because you'll get one-on-one attention from me. What we'll do is I'm going to ask you a ton of questions so I can understand your current situation. And then I also want to understand your ideal situation, okay? And most likely, I'm thinking that if you fall under, if like most people, you're probably going to be in that first quadrant that I was talking about. Okay. But we'll confirm that regardless. And then I can also give you feedback on how your headline is categorizing you. And basically we'll know it all comes from which quadrant you're in, because that's going to tell us if your signal is expanding or narrowing your options. So yeah, so that's what we will do on this. And then if I can help you further, I won't know unless I get additional details from you. So if additional help is needed, I can definitely speak to that. But again, I think it's really important for you first to find out, if your positioning, if it's hurting you or if it's helping you. So that's the key. That really is the bottom line. So just keeping an eye on the time here. I'm going to be dropping the link in the chat to schedule this. So again, to schedule the career strategy call. And again, we're only offering 5 complimentary ones. Okay. So you want to make sure, if you think this can be of value to you at all, if you think that, even spending some time to partner with an expert like me can help you to get past that wall that you've been hitting, then definitely take advantage of it. So we'll be dropping that in the chat and in the comments as well. Although I think, let's see, I'm just wondering out loud, I want to make sure that you have access to the link. Well, we may post it in multiple places, because sometimes with LinkedIn, they might hide a link, but we want to make sure that you have access to the link. Okay, so we will do that. And then, yeah, so again, we're only going to be giving out 5 complimentary ones. So because typically this is something that I do charge for. Okay, so we'll do that. And again, if you aren't a first degree connection, that's an easy thing to fix. Go ahead and send me an invite, and then you can book your time slot, and then we can go from there. And yeah, I want to thank you for attending this. But again, I want to go back to this, because again, this is the key. If you are stuck in this quadrant of credible, you're very credible, you've got this great experience, but again, your signal isn't getting you to where you need to be, then it needs to be fixed. And the good news is it is something that can be fixed, because I fix it. I fix it all the time. And we have had great results with our clients that we've been able to help. So absolutely, you want to be able to take advantage of it. So take advantage of one of these strategy calls. Again, we'll put the link in the chat for you. If it's not me dropping it in there, someone on my team will drop it in there. And, thanks again for joining us. It was great being here, and appreciate your time and attention. So have a great weekend, everyone. Bye now.